Do you believe in moments that can change your entire life? That's exactly how this story begins. With a single moment, inside a small cafe. Copyright on a rainy evening, a broken bar where a girl with just $5 met eyes with a man who had everything except happiness. Rain tapped gently against the glass windows of Café Copyright Willow. The smell of roasted coffee beans and fresh pastries filled the air. In the corner seat by the window sat a girl, Leila. Her hair was slightly damp from the rain, her clothes modest but neat, and her eyes a broken bar. They carried a mix of hope and nervousness. She looked down at the crumpled $5 bill in her hand. That was all she had left for the week. Rent was due in 2 days. Her part-time job barely paid enough to cover food, and yet here she was, on a blind date. Her best friend had convinced her to try it. You never know, maybe he'll be your miracle, her friend had joked. Leila had laughed at the time, but now, waiting there with her old phone on the table and her stomach growling quietly, she wondered if this was a mistake. At another table, near the window opposite hers, sat a man in a perfectly tailored suit. Ethan Cole. He looked out of place in such a simple Café Copyright, his silver watch gleaming under the warm lights. But his eyes weren't on his phone or the business documents beside him. They were on her, the girl who looked like she didn't belong in the world he lived in. He had come to the Café Copyright to escape a business dinner that felt too suffocating, to spend a quiet hour before going home to his 7-year-old daughter. He'd been a single father for 3 years now, ever since his wife's accident. And though he owned one of the largest architecture firms in the city, he often found himself eating dinner alone. Success had given him everything, a broken bar, and taken away peace. Now, as he watched Leila nervously adjust her sleeves and check her phone for the 100th time, something inside him stirred. Minutes passed. The man she was waiting for still hadn't shown up. She tried to smile, to look composed, but every second made her heart heavier. Finally, after 30 minutes, she sighed and stood up to leave. Before she could reach the door, her phone buzzed. A message, greater than sorry, couldn't make it. Something came up. Her chest tightened. She bit her lip, forcing a small laugh. Of course, figures, she whispered to herself. But what broke Ethan's heart was what she did next. She turned back, walked to the counter, and shyly asked, "Can I just have a small cup of coffee, please?" The cheapest one. She handed the cashier her last $5 bill, and her smile faltered when the cashier said softly, "Sorry, we only take cards now." She froze. Her cheeks flushed red. She mumbled, "Oh, a broken bar, okay, thank you," and turned to leave. That's when Ethan stood up. "Excuse me," he said, walking over. "Can I get that coffee for her? And maybe add a slice of cake too?" Leila looked at him, startled. "Oh no, please, you don't have to." He smiled gently. "I know, but I want to." They sat down together, awkwardly at first. Leila insisted she didn't want to take his time, but Ethan's calm voice and kind eyes made her feel safe. They talked about small things, the rain, the city, how she worked at a bookstore part-time, how he was an architect. She didn't know he was the Ethan Cole, the CEO of the biggest design company in the city. He didn't tell her, because he didn't want the conversation to change. "I just think," Leila said softly, stirring her coffee, "people judge you by what you have, a broken bar, not who you are. Sometimes I feel invisible." Ethan added slowly, "I know that feeling, but sometimes the people who feel invisible are the ones who end up changing someone's world." Her eyes lifted to his, and for the first time that evening, she smiled, a real smile. They talked for hours. What started as a simple act of kindness turned into something deeper. He found himself laughing again, something he hadn't done genuinely in years. When it was time to leave, Leila thanked him, saying, "I'll pay you back someday." He smiled. "Just promise me you'll keep smiling." "That's enough." And then she walked away, leaving behind only a paper napkin with her name and number written in tiny letters. Days passed. Leila returned to her simple life, balancing bills, caring for her sick mother, and dreaming of better days. She didn't expect him to call. Why would he? He was just a stranger who'd shown her kindness. But one afternoon, her phone buzzed. A text. greater than hi, it's Ethan. Would you like to have coffee again? I owe you a conversation about dreams. She hesitated and then smiled. Sure, she replied. Over the next few months, they met often, sometimes at the same cafe copyright, sometimes at the park. Leela met Emma, his daughter, a shy little girl who quickly adored her. The three of them shared laughter, stories, and simple joys. Leela's warmth brought light back into Ethan's home, and in her presence, he rediscovered the part of himself that loved without fear. But happiness always comes with tests. One evening, a news article went viral. Greater than Ethan Cole, CEO of Cole Designs, spotted with unknown woman, a mystery romance. Leela's phone exploded with messages, some cruel, some curious. People judged her instantly, calling her a gold digger, a liar, a poor girl trying to trap the billionaire. She cried silently that night, and by morning, she decided to end it. When Ethan came to see her, she forced a smile. You deserve someone from your world, Ethan, not someone who can barely afford a bus ride. He looked at her, heartbroken. My world has never felt right until you stepped into it, Leela. Tears filled her eyes, but she shook her head. I can't ruin your name. She left before he could stop her. Weeks passed. The cafe copyright felt empty without her. Ethan tried to reach out, but she changed her number. Then one rainy evening, exactly a year after they first met, Ethan walked into cafe copyright Willow again, this time, holding a little girl's hand. Emma pointed toward the counter. Daddy, look, it's her. There she was, Leela, behind the counter, wearing an apron, working late but smiling softly. Ethan approached her quietly. So this is where you've been hiding? Leela froze, her heart racing. On a broken barrier. He took her hand. Don't say anything. I just came to tell you that I finally learned something important. She looked up. What's that? He smiled. You were never the poor one in this story, Leela. You were the richest person I ever met, because you gave without expecting anything back. Tears welled in her eyes. He knelt slightly, took out a small box, and opened it. Inside was a delicate silver ring. This time, I'm not asking as a CEO, I'm asking as a man who fell in love with a girl who had $5 but a heart worth millions. Will you marry me? Leela covered her mouth, crying softly. Emma hugged her from the side, and in that small cafe copyright, surrounded by the smell of coffee and rain, she whispered, yes. One moment, one kind act, one cup of coffee. That's all it took to turn two lonely hearts into a family. So if you ever feel like you don't have much, remember, sometimes, the smallest things you give can change someone's entire world. And maybe, just maybe, broken bar, that someone is watching you right now, from the next table.